On a cool November day in 2006, something extraordinary happened to a man named Abraham Shakespeare. He decided to stop at a convenience store in Prospect, Florida, just for a soda and maybe some luck. Little did he know that his life was about to change forever. As fate would have it, Abraham bought 2 lottery tickets along with his drink. Days passed, and he couldn't believe his eyes when he discovered that he had hit the jackpot, winning a whopping $30 million. But winning in Florida came with a twist. His identity would be revealed to the world. Join us as we delve into the gripping saga of DeeDee's shocking realization. How did her twisted plans lead to this point? And what was the devastating cost of her actions? Back then, Abraham was just an assistant truck driver living with his mom in the rural town of Plant Town near Tampa. People described him as someone who could barely read and write, but he was overflowing with generosity. But his life was completely changed after the lottery win. Unfortunately, some unscrupulous individuals took advantage of his newfound fortune. One close friend, Samuel Jones, who had known Abraham since they were kids, saw how bewildered and overwhelmed he became. The money was pouring in so fast, and it completely changed his life in a way he never imagined. Choosing to receive a lump sum payment of approximately $30 million, Abraham's life took a dramatic turn. People started flocking to his home, seeking handouts and financial favors. It broke his heart to realize that many of those he thought were friends were only interested in his money. As news of his newfound riches spread, more and more people started coming to him, expecting a share of his wealth. This burdened Abraham, and it became overwhelming for him. His friend Greg Smith and others who knew him noticed how the weight of people's expectations was taking a toll on him. Frustration and regrets started creeping into Abraham's life. He confided in Samuel, saying, "I wish I had never won the lottery. All these people, I thought they were my friends, but all they want is money." Among those friends was a woman who went to extreme lengths to get her hands on a piece of the fortune. From rags to riches, Abraham's life became a roller coaster ride he never asked for nor expected. In the year 2007, about a year after winning his fortune, Abraham crossed paths with a woman named Doris Donegan Moore, who was also known as DeeDee. She claimed to be interested in writing a book about his life, but some officials suspected that she was only after his money. As time passed, she became more than just a writer. She took on the role of a financial advisor to Abraham. Curiously, records show that Moore's company, American Medical Professionals, bought Abraham's $1 million home in Lakeland for $655,000 in January 2009. The following month, she helped him establish a company, granting herself the authority to handle his money, including a hefty $1 million withdrawal, as detectives later discovered. After some days, Shakespeare suddenly disappeared. When questioned by the authorities, Moore claimed that Abraham had given her the money as a gift. However, suspicions grew as she used the money to splurge on expensive items like a Hummer, a Corvette, and a truck, and even funded a luxurious holiday for herself. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd wasn't convinced by Moore's explanation. He branded her a con artist who had deceived Abraham Shakespeare, possibly even leading to his untimely demise. Tragically, his body was eventually found. In April 2009, Abraham Shakespeare was last seen by his family. They held on to the hope that he had taken a vacation with his winnings and was relaxing on a beautiful beach somewhere. Meanwhile, Moore told the local newspaper, the Lakeland Ledger, that he was simply trying to lay low due to the constant demands and harassment from people wanting a piece of his wealth. She claimed to have assisted him in disappearing from the public eye. Detectives, with their keen eyes and sharp minds, started piecing together the puzzle. They uncovered something truly shocking. Moore had been trying to fool everyone into thinking Shakespeare was still alive. How did she do this, you may wonder? Well, she cleverly used his phone to send messages to his relatives and friends, pretending to be him. To add to the sinister plot, Moore paid $5,000 to one of Shakespeare's relatives, urging them to deliver a birthday card to Shakespeare's dear mother. The card was meant to look like it came from her son, but in reality, it was all part of Moore's cunning scheme. As the investigators delved deeper, they brought Moore in for questioning, hoping to get to the bottom of this tragic tale. But Moore, trying to protect herself, denied any involvement in Shakespeare's murder. She pointed the finger at drug dealers, trying to shift the blame away from herself. The investigators, relentless in their pursuit of truth, continued to unravel the threads of this dark narrative. They spoke to Moore's ex-husband, who revealed a startling detail. On the night of Shakespeare's murder, Moore had asked him to dig a hole in the backyard using some machinery. After the sun had set, he filled the hole back up, completely unaware that a body lay at the bottom. The authorities quickly determined that he had no hand in the murder. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together, and Moore's web of lies was starting to unravel. The authorities, armed with the truth, confronted her once more, and her elaborate story began to crumble. The evidence against her was mounting, and the case was clear. The prosecutors decided to charge Moore with murder. DeeDee had a habit of trying to start different businesses, but unfortunately, they all ended up failing. To make matters worse, she had a troublesome past, having been arrested multiple times for shoplifting, check fraud, and insurance fraud. One day, she found herself in a difficult situation when she defaulted on a car loan and feared her car would be repossessed. In an attempt to escape this problem, DeeDee came up with a rather strange plan. She decided to hide her vehicle at a friend's house and then pretended to be a victim of car theft. She claimed that someone had held her at gunpoint and stolen her car. To support her deception, her friend cooperated with her story and told the police that the car was on his property. DeeDee's life took a twist when she crossed paths with Abraham. She managed to gain his trust and became his financial advisor, accompanying him wherever he went. But everything changed on November 9, 2009, when Abraham mysteriously disappeared. As the police began their investigation, they discovered something suspicious. Not only was DeeDee living in Abraham's mansion, but all of his assets had been transferred to her name. Her explanation was that Abraham, tired of people asking for money, had given everything to her and fled the country. However, the police didn't buy her story and decided to dig deeper into Abraham's disappearance. A few weeks later, one of Abraham's friends named Gregory Smith came forward with crucial information. He told the police where they could find Abraham's body, accusing DeeDee of taking his life and burying him behind his own mansion. The investigation intensified, and DeeDee grew increasingly worried about getting caught. In her desperation, DeeDee turned to Gregory and asked if he knew someone willing to take the blame for the murder. Shockingly, Gregory claimed he knew such a person and DeeDee handed him the murder weapon while revealing the location of Abraham's body. When DeeDee was brought in for interrogation, she pleaded with the police for protection, claiming that a man named Ronald had threatened her and that she believed he was the real murderer. But the police were determined to uncover the truth behind Abraham's disappearance and were not easily swayed by DeeDee's attempts to avoid responsibility. Detectives worked tirelessly, covering 2 different counties and speaking to numerous people. It wouldn't be wrong to say that the detectives were exhausted from all her lies. During one interrogation, DeeDee attempted to manipulate the detectives by bursting into tears, but they were determined to get to the truth. They recalled a conversation where she asked if she could keep her belongings if she told them the truth about Abraham's death, revealing her dubious intentions. To test her reactions, the detectives made a fake call in front of her, suggesting her husband might be arrested for the murder. DeeDee's unease at this idea gave them more reason to suspect her. After the initial interrogation, DeeDee was allowed to return home, but she couldn't rest easy. The next day, she requested another interview, hoping to come up with explanations for all the evidence against her. However, her attempts to spin a new narrative were unsuccessful, and the detectives exposed her lies once more. Subsequently, DeeDee faced a trial for first-degree murder. Throughout the proceedings, she desperately sought attention, crying loudly and reacting dramatically to the evidence. She even went as far as making threats to witnesses, leading to her being removed from the courtroom. In the end, the jury found DeeDee guilty, and she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Even after her conviction was upheld by an appellate court twice, DeeDee continued to make wild accusations and shed many tears, attempting to secure a new trial. But her pleas fell on deaf ears, and the world saw her for what she truly was, a convicted killer who had taken the life of lottery winner Abraham Shakespeare and stolen his million.